The strangest pain in life is not losing someone. It's missing the person who shattered you the most. And maybe that's why you're here tonight. Because somewhere deep inside you, there's a name your heart still whispers even after everything that happened. A face that still appears in quiet moments. A memory that keeps returning like a ghost, knocking at the same door long after the house has burned down. You told yourself you were done. You deleted the messages. You tried to stay busy. You acted strong in front of everyone else, but then a song played. A scent passed by, a late-night silence wrapped around your chest, and suddenly you missed them again. Not the pain, not the betrayal, not the sleepless nights. You missed them. And that is the part nobody talks about, because we like to believe the heart is logical. We think pain should erase attachment. We think betrayal should kill love instantly. But the human soul doesn't work like a courtroom. The heart doesn't hold trials before it decides who it longs for. Sometimes the people who damage us leave fingerprints on parts of us no one else ever touched. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." But perhaps another hidden burden is this. The heart often confuses familiarity with destiny. Even suffering can start to feel like home when someone once made us feel seen, chosen, or alive. So tonight, this isn't just a video about heartbreak. It's about why your chest still aches for someone who wounded you, why your soul revisits memories it should reject, why healing feels impossible when love and pain became tied together inside you. And by the end of this journey, you may finally understand something powerful. Missing someone is not proof they belonged in your life forever. Sometimes it is simply proof they touched a part of you that still needs healing. Part 1. Your heart doesn't miss the person. It misses who you were with them. There's a dangerous illusion hidden inside heartbreak. You think your pain is about losing another person. But often, what hurts more is losing the identity you built around them. The future you imagined, the emotional world you created together. When someone enters your life deeply enough, they do not merely become a person. They become a routine, a psychological environment, a mirror through which you experience yourself. And when they leave, it feels as though parts of you leave too. That's why the silence afterward feels unbearable. Because the heart is not only grieving their absence, it is grieving the collapse of an emotional universe. You miss the morning texts that made ordinary days feel meaningful. You miss laughing without forcing it. You miss believing someone understood you. And slowly, without realizing it, your brain starts editing the memories like a filmmaker cutting a tragic movie. It highlights the warmth while muting the cruelty. The late-night conversations become brighter than the arguments. The affection becomes louder than the abandonment. This is why people return mentally to relationships that destroyed them. Not because the suffering was beautiful, but because the emotional intensity made them feel alive. Nietzsche wrote, "There is always some madness in love, but there is also always some reason in madness. The madness is longing for the one who hurt you. The reason is that they once awakened emotions you had buried for years, and now your heart confuses emotional awakening with emotional safety." Think about modern life for a moment. People scroll endlessly through social media, surrounded by shallow conversations, temporary validation, and disposable connections. Genuine emotional intensity has become rare. So when someone finally touches your soul deeply, even imperfectly, your heart clings to that experience with desperate force, even if it destroys you. That is why healing feels so complicated. You are not simply trying to forget a person. You are trying to mourn a version of yourself that only existed in their presence. And perhaps the hardest truth is this. Sometimes we keep missing people because we haven't yet rebuilt ourselves without them. Part 2. The heart becomes addicted to emotional chaos. There are relationships that feel like calm rivers, and then there are relationships that feel like storms. The dangerous part is this: storms make you feel alive. The highs are intoxicating. The affection feels cinematic. The attention feels sacred because it comes unpredictably. One day they make you feel adored. The next day they pull away without explanation. And without realizing it, your nervous system becomes trapped in a cycle of emotional gambling. You begin chasing their validation the same way a gambler chases another win after a devastating loss. Psychologists call this intermittent reinforcement, one of the strongest emotional addictions known to the human mind. Because the brain does not become obsessed with consistency, it becomes obsessed with uncertainty. That is why stable love can sometimes feel boring to wounded hearts. Peace feels unfamiliar, safety feels suspicious, but chaos feels emotionally stimulating. Especially if your childhood taught you that love had to be earned. Maybe affection came only after proving yourself. Maybe attention arrived inconsistently. Maybe you learned early in life that love and anxiety often arrive together. So later, when someone hurts you while occasionally making you feel special, your nervous system recognizes the pattern instantly. It whispers, "This feels like love," but often, it is only emotional survival repeating itself. Carl Jung believed that until we make the unconscious conscious, it will direct our lives and we will call it fate. And this is exactly what happens in toxic attachment. People think they miss the person, but sometimes they're actually missing the emotional roller coaster their body became chemically attached to, the late-night apologies, the sudden affection after distance, the hope that maybe this time things will change. Hope can become a prison when attached to the wrong person, and perhaps that is why heartbreak feels physically painful, because your body is not only grieving emotional connection, it is withdrawing from an addiction. The dopamine spikes, the anticipation, the emotional unpredictability. You miss them the way thirsty lungs miss oxygen underwater. But here is the terrifying truth nobody tells you. The heart can become addicted to people who slowly destroy it. Not because suffering is romantic, but because familiar pain often feels safer than unfamiliar freedom. And that is why healing is not simply about moving on. It is about retraining your nervous system to stop associating chaos with love, to stop mistaking anxiety for passion, to stop calling emotional instability destiny. Because real love does not leave you constantly questioning your worth. Real love does not force your soul into survival mode. The tragedy is that many people spend years missing someone who never truly gave them peace. Only emotional intensity, and emotional intensity is not the same thing as love. Part 3. Your mind replays what your soul never finished. There is something haunting about unfinished emotions. A conversation left incomplete, an apology never spoken, a goodbye that arrived too suddenly, a person who disappeared while your heart was still trying to understand what happened. And because the human mind hates unresolved endings, it keeps reopening the memory like a book, searching for the missing final chapter. That is why you think about them at random hours. Not because your soul is weak, but because your mind is still trying to create meaning from emotional confusion. The brain is designed to seek closure. It wants answers. It wants logic. It wants to understand why someone who once held your hand with tenderness later became cold enough to let you suffer. But heartbreak rarely gives clean explanations. Sometimes people leave because of their own fears. Sometimes they love you imperfectly. Sometimes they break you while fighting battles inside themselves. And sometimes people simply do not know how to carry the weight of another human heart responsibly. Yet your mind keeps searching for a reason powerful enough to justify the pain. This is why memories become obsessive after heartbreak. The relationship may end physically, but psychologically, your mind continues the conversation in silence. You replay moments repeatedly. What if I said this differently? What if I stayed? What if they come back? Did they ever truly love me? And every replay deepens the emotional imprint. The philosopher Albert Camus once wrote, "Nobody realizes that some people expend tremendous energy merely to be normal." The same is true for heartbreak. Nobody realizes how exhausting it is to carry invisible conversations inside your head every day while pretending you are okay in front of the world. You smile publicly, but privately, your mind is still standing at the ruins of what happened, and perhaps this is why your heart misses them even after everything, because a part of you never emotionally completed the story. Your soul is still waiting for the ending it deserved. But here is the painful revelation. Closure does not always come from another person. Sometimes closure comes from accepting that the version of them you loved no longer exists, or perhaps never existed in the way you imagined. That realization breaks people because it forces you to grieve two losses at once, the person themselves and the fantasy your heart built around them. Yet this is where true healing quietly begins, the moment you stop waiting for them to explain your pain and start becoming the person who saves yourself from it, because some stories in life do not end with understanding, they end with acceptance. Part 4. Someday your heart will thank you for letting go, not dramatically, not with anger, not even with tears, just a quiet moment where their name passes through your mind like an old season that no longer lives inside you. And that day will confuse you at first, because for so long your pain became part of your identity. Missing them became routine. The sadness became strangely comforting, like carrying an old scar you kept touching to remind yourself the wound was real. But healing does something beautiful. It slowly removes emotional weight from memories. The moments that once shattered you begin losing their power. The songs stop hurting. The late nights become quieter. The silence no longer feels like abandonment. And eventually you realize something extraordinary. You survived the thing you thought would destroy you. Not because you stopped loving completely, but because you finally started loving yourself enough to stop bleeding for someone who kept handing you the knife. This is the transformation heartbreak secretly offers. Pain either turns people bitter or it turns them conscious. Some people spend years chasing the ones who wounded them because they believe suffering proves devotion. But wisdom teaches the opposite. Real love should expand your spirit, not shrink it. It should feel like peace entering your nervous system, not war entering your mind. Buddha once said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." Yet heartbreak often makes people abandon themselves completely. They beg for closure from those who damaged them. They search for worth inside rejection. They keep knocking on doors that only open long enough to hurt them again. But healing begins the moment you stop asking, "Why wasn't I enough for them?" and start asking, "Why was I willing to accept so little for myself?" That question changes everything, because your heart was never weak for missing them. It was simply loyal, loyal to memories, loyal to hope, loyal to the version of love it desperately wanted to believe in. But loyalty becomes self-destruction when it is given to people who continuously break your spirit. And perhaps this is the final lesson hidden inside heartbreak. Some people enter your life not to stay forever, but to awaken the parts of you that needed healing. Maybe they were never meant to become your future. Maybe they arrived to teach you boundaries, to teach you self-worth, to teach you that love without peace eventually becomes emotional starvation. And someday, maybe sooner than you think, you will meet someone whose presence does not confuse your soul. Someone who does not make you question whether you are lovable. Someone who does not disappear whenever emotions become real. Someone whose love feels calm enough for your nervous system to finally rest. But before that love arrives, you must stop romanticizing the pain that nearly destroyed you. You must stop turning wounds into proof of destiny, because not everyone you miss is meant to return, and not every broken heart is asking to be reunited. Sometimes it is asking to be free. So tonight, if your heart still aches for someone who hurt you, do not hate yourself for it. You are human. But remember this carefully: missing someone is not a command to go back. Longing is not always wisdom, and love should never require the abandonment of your own soul. Let them become a chapter, not your entire story. And maybe the greatest form of healing is this: finally realizing that the heart can remember someone deeply without needing them anymore. If this video spoke to something you've been silently carrying, take a moment tonight to sit with yourself honestly, not with the version of love your pain created, but with the version of yourself that still deserves peace. And ask yourself, was I truly missing them? Or was I missing the hope of who I wanted them to be? Sometimes that single question can change the direction of your entire life.